So, Pokemon Legends Arceus introduced some brand new Pokemon, and when new Pokemon are introduced, people tend to have opinions about them, and I would be one of those people, which is why in today's video I am going to give you guys my opinion on every new Pokemon and Hisuian form that was introduced in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, it goes without saying that this is going to be a spoilery video, so consider this your official spoiler warning if you're still trying to avoid those things. With that being said though, I kinda heard a lot of mixed reactions going into the release of the game from the leaks where people got to see all these new Pokemon early. I heard a lot of complaints, I heard a lot of them were bad, and so I was really looking forward to seeing these Pokemon for myself and forming my own opinions, and I have seen them now and I have formed my opinions, so without further ado, why don't we go ahead and share them. Okay, so obviously we've got to start with the starters, and the first of that bunch is Hisuian Decidueye, and this was one of those Pokemon that I was hearing people complain about, saying that they didn't like it or whatever, and I could not disagree more because I love Hisuian Decidueye. It's literally a fall autumn colored themed owl. That's like a match made in heaven. That's like peanut butter and jelly. I love the look of this thing. It is so cool. It is an easy S tier, and it's actually my favorite of the starters, beating out Hisuian Typhlosion, if you can believe it. So yeah, easy S tier. And speaking of what I think of Hisuian Typhlosion, I like it. It's another one that I was hearing a lot of complaints about going into the release of the game, and it all really seems to have to do with the relaxed personality it's got going on, which I really don't think is a problem at all. First off, it's a ghost type, fire ghost, that is so sick coming off as an evolution of Cyndaquil. That is a great, like, just so cool, such a cool typing to have. I love its ghostly flames, I love how it wraps around its whole head, and I actually do love its personality and character, because it gives it some actual personality and character instead of just being generically tough or strong or scary looking. So overall, I like it. I would give it probably an A rank. And the last of the bunch is Hisuian Samurott, and basically what they did here was take Samurott and make him a little more edgy with that dark typing. So he's got the water dark typing, which is cool, and in terms of the design, I actually think it's pretty cool because it does add a little more edginess, which is a good way to make things look cool if that's what you're going for. I know it doesn't change that much from the original Samurott, but I like the original Samurott a lot as well, so that probably factors into my opinion. And you gotta remember that these Pokemon are not evolving from regional variants themselves, they're evolving from the original forms. So there's only so much that their evolution can do, and I think that's worth thinking about when you're trying to determine your opinion on how you feel about these guys. Alrighty, so now we're going to be getting into the actual brand new Pokemon, and the first of those is Wyrdeer. I really like Wyrdeer, much like a lot of other people seem to. The only thing I really don't like about it that much is that, at least in the face, it looks a little too much like Stantler to me, but still, it's an evolution of Stantler. You get to ride around in it in this game wherever you want. It's got a big, long, white, graceful beard. I actually really love the coloring of it as well, so overall I think it's pretty solid. I would give it I would put it in the B+ tier. When it comes to Kleavor, I have started to warm up to Kleavor recently. I talked about in a previous video that I did not too long ago that I was kind of meh about it before, and then I started to look into some of its origins, and it actually has a really well put together design, which made me appreciate it a lot more. So that ultimately has Kleavor right now for me at the B tier. It probably was about a C before, now it's up to a B. Next up, we have Overqwil, which, if you didn't know, is an evolution of Qwilfish, and Qwilfish also got a Hisuian form as well, which is just fantastic all the way around. Starting with Qwilfish, it just needed this. It needed a regional variant, it needed an evolution, it finally got it, which is so cool. In terms of the actual design itself, I would say it's overall pretty solid. I love that it's really angry, because I imagine that it's angry and pissed off that people have forgot about it for so long. So overall, in terms of its design and everything, I would probably put Hisuian Qwilfish in the B tier, but that's a very positive B tier. When it comes to Overqwil, I love this thing. Obviously because it's a Qwilfish evolution, but also because I was completely floored by it. I was not thinking that Qwilfish was going to get an evolution. I assumed for various reasons that Qwilfish was just going to have the Hisuian form and it would be left at that. So when I saw Overqwil in the game for the first time, I was completely blindsided by just sheer joy and excitement. It was so cool seeing this thing for the first time, and I think its design is actually really cool too. So I would put this in the A+ tier. Next up we have Ursaluna, who is an evolution to Teddiursa and Ursaring, and once again, I love this guy. He also gets an easy S tier ranking, maybe a very high A+, but I mean at that point I'm just going to go ahead and put him in the S tier because he is so cool. I really liked him right off the bat. I love that he's an evolution of Ursaring. That really adds to my fascination with him. Obviously he's a ride Pokemon in the game. That just makes him all the cooler. You can ride around on a big bear Pokemon, and I just think his design is really cool too. He's all about the full moon and the moon in general, and his freaking face has got a full moon on it, and his eyebrows are clouds in front of the full moon, creating like a cool like picture thing on his face. It's just so ingenious and cool. I love this Pokemon. So yeah, S tier. Moving along though, we now have Basculegion along with Hisuian Basculin, aka the white striped form of Basculin. We'll talk about that first because this one's kind of interesting. It's not technically a Hisuian form, I guess, because the Pokedex identifies it as the white striped form, just like the blue and red striped form. However, its Pokedex entry does say that it's a regional form. So it's kind of a little bit of both, I guess. In terms of the design overall, though, it's literally basically just Basculin, just with a white stripe instead of a red or blue one. So there's not much to say, but I would say it's probably my favorite now of the three. I think it just looks better to me for some reason, so I'd give it a C ranking. In terms of Basculegion, obviously Basculin needed something going for it, and Basculegion finally delivered on that, which I have been just calling for this Pokemon forever, so it is a big breath of fresh air. In terms of the design itself, though, it's not necessarily something I am just like blown away by, even though I really wanted this for Basculin, but it definitely does do the job of redeeming Basculin. So overall, I would give it like a B to B+ ranking. And following up that, we have Sneasler, the new evolution to Sneasel, and Hisuian Sneasel. Starting with Hisuian Sneasel, I think it's pretty cool. I actually like it a lot. I think the whole color palette swap change that it's got going on with its design is a cool swap. It makes it look pretty cool. It's obviously different, but I think it's cool just the same compared to regular Sneasel. The typing that it's got, poison fighting, is pretty drastically different as well, which is always fun for a regional variant. So overall, I think Hisuian Sneasel is pretty cool, and I would give it like a B+ ranking. When it comes to Sneasler, though, I'm not a fan of Sneasler. I'm really not that big a fan, and it mostly has to do with its really long, lanky, uncomfortably looking arms and legs. Like, this thing just has just too long of legs, too long of arms. It's getting into that weird human-like territory where it's just like way too identically proportionate to how humans are, and that's just a weird place for Pokemon to be for me. So I'm not a fan of it really, and also I'm not a fan of its name either. It's just like way too close to Sneasel to me to be pulled off and be a legitimate name for an evolution. So overall, I'm just not the biggest fan, and I'd probably put it in the C tier. And for our final brand new Pokemon, we have, of course, because why wouldn't it exist, Enamorous. This thing is another genie. It's another member of the forces of nature, the genies from Gen 5. And I have hated those guys since they first were introduced, so it just puzzles me beyond belief, because that's actually a pretty vocal opinion that people have stated. It's pretty widespread, so it really puzzles me why they thought they needed to introduce another one of these guys, and why they didn't even really try to make it look any better given that criticism. I will say that it's not any worse than the others, which, I mean, isn't saying much, but at least it's not worse, I'll give it that much. And it is kind of cool that they added a new form or a new Pokemon to an already existing legendary trio. I think that concept is really, really cool. And it's also kind of cool that it's like the female counterpart to the other three, where the other three are all 100% male and they're male-only Pokemon, whereas this one is female-only. I think that's kind of a cool way to go about it, but design-wise, it's just blah, blah, blah. You get the picture. It's just not good-looking, just like the other genies. It's the whole humanoid thing all over again, plus it's kind of ugly too. So I would say like D minus F, just like bottom of the barrel for sure. Its Therian form is much better. I'm still very much of the opinion that these were like an attempt to save face for these designs, because they realized the initial designs were so bad, and so they came out with those later. And so this kind of goes along with that. Its Therian form is better, but it's still only like a C for me. And now coming back around to some more of the Hisuian forms, we now have Hisuian Lilligant. And I can clearly see what they're going for with the whole dancer aesthetic for this form of the Pokemon, and I don't think they necessarily pulled it off in a bad way, but I feel like this actually looks pretty significantly different to what regular Lilligant looks like, which is not a bad thing by any means, but for whatever reason it just comes off as kinda off to me for whatever reason. So it's definitely one of my lesser liked Pokemon from this game, new ones anyway, and so overall I would give this probably like a B minus. Oh boy, you guys are in for a treat this time, because next up we got Hisuian Sliggoo and Goodra. I don't know how many of you guys know this, because I don't necessarily talk about it a bunch, but Goodra is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. It is a solid 3, if not 2, right behind Cyndaquil, and this has just shot it up even more. I think to the point where it's probably pretty solidly my number 2 favorite Pokemon, which is actually kind of funny, because when it comes to both of these Pokemon, I was really unsure about them to begin with, because they have the whole snail thing going, which is present in their regular design, so I was kind of wondering why they would lean in so hard on something that was already in their regular form. It almost kind of looked like a beta design to me, which I kind of thought maybe it was what they were going for, because it's obviously a past setting, so maybe it's showing the development of the Pokemon over time, which it is, but not necessarily in the way I initially thought, because my good friend Hybrid Hero, shout out to you my man, pointed out to me that the theme of these Pokemon, especially given Goodra and its shy, kind of bashful facial expression, if you will, the theme of these Pokemon is actually supposed to be them coming out of their shells, both literally and figuratively, because we've got Goodra here, the boy, this sad little bashful, shy-looking boy, who eventually becomes regular Goodra, who's all happy-go-lucky and just is nice and friendly. So these Pokemon are literally all about coming out of their shell, and I think that is so ingenious. It just makes me love these Pokemon all the more. And Sliggoo, also, going back to him, he's just a boy. He's just a cute little boy rolling around in his rolling around in his shell, popping his head out. I just love everything about these Pokemon. They also have the Steel type, so they're Steel Dragon. I just love them. Both S tiers. Next up, we come to Growlithe and Arcanine, and what are you going to say about Growlithe that hasn't already been said? We've known about him for a while. I would say he's a really good, solid form. of Growlithe in terms of regional variants. I love that he's kind of like more or less, which I've talked about in other videos previously, the original form of Growlithe, which I think is really cool, and design-wise I think he looks good too. So I would give him an A ranking. When it comes to Arcanine, Arcanine was another one of those Pokemon that I heard was just like not good initially before the games came out, and when I saw this for the first time, I was expecting to see something bad, and then I saw this and I was like, this is what everyone was complaining about? Why are they complaining? This looks good. I don't necessarily think it looks as good as Hisuian Growlithe, but I still think this looks really good. I think it's a solid regional variant for Arcanine, and therefore, if Growlithe is in the A rank, I would probably put this in the B+ or the B rank. And now we come to Hisuian Voltorb and Electrode. Now, when it comes to regional variants, these guys are pretty standard, which you would expect with a Pokemon like Voltorb and Electrode. There's not really a whole lot you can do with their designs since they're based on Pokeballs, but it's kind of just cool that they exist at all and they acknowledged that they've got an early, more primitive Pokeball, so it would make sense to give the Pokeball Pokemon that same kind of treatment. And not to mention that Voltorb's backstory in its Hisuian form is really, really tragic, and it also is basically the original form of the Pokemon as well. So it got a lot of cool lore to it with this Hisuian form, which I think is the best part of it. Design-wise, it's just kind of like average okay, but it did add a lot of personality to these two Pokemon, which I think was really, really cool, and I think they definitely benefit from it. So I would give Voltorb like a B, and I think I would give Electrode also a B. Now we come to Hisuian Avalugg, and I just want to say, I love that they gave Avalugg a Hisuian form, or a regional variant at all for that matter. It's really cool to see Pokemon like it and Goodra from more recent generations, Gen 6 in fact, as well as like some of the Unova Pokemon. It's cool to see these newer Pokemon get these forms as well, just to spread the love around, because there's obviously so much potential with the concept. But when it comes to Avalugg's design in particular, there are things I like and dislike about it. I do like the horn tusk things it's got on its head. I like the rock typing that was added to it, but overall I think I might actually prefer the original Avalugg to this one, because the rocky colors of brown and orange that it has going on the under part of its body, like overall I just don't feel like they necessarily mix well with the icy blue, so its color scheme is just not necessarily doing it for me, and that kind of does drag it down in my opinion, which kind of sucks because I actually like Avalugg a lot. I'm a pretty big Avalugg fan, but it's not like terrible by any means either, so I would probably give it like a B-. And speaking of newer Pokemon getting regional variants, we now have Hisuian Zorua and Zoroark. First off, I don't really think it needs to be said, it pretty much goes without saying, that Hisuian Zorua is an S-tier Pokemon. First off, it looks adorable, it has an amazing design, its backstory once again is also really cool and tragic, and it's normal ghost type, one of the coolest possible type combinations ever, and one that I have personally wanted to see for a long, long time, and we finally got it, and it looks like this. Absolute home run, easy S tier for me. Hisuian Zorua is awesome. When it comes to Zoroark, I feel much the same. However, I don't quite like it as much as Zorua because I do feel like its design is kinda busy, but overall, much of the same sentiment that I feel with Zorua is still here, so I think I would give it probably an A rank. Another Unova Pokemon with a Hisuian form is Hisuian Braviary, and I think Hisuian Braviary is about as solid of a regional variant as you can be. It doesn't necessarily blow me away, but I do not think it is bad by any stretch of the imagination either. It looks really cool design-wise, it does have a cool Psychic type added onto it, you obviously get the added benefit of being able to use it as a ride Pokemon, so while it doesn't blow me away, it does still have a lot going for it, which is why I think I would put it in the B+ tier. And last but not least, we actually have two more, not Hisuian forms, but origin forms, specifically for Dialga and Palkia. And I just want to say really quick that I actually low-key predicted that Dialga and Palkia were going to get origin forms way before the game came out. I believe I talked about it in a podcast with Birdkeeper Toby. I think that's what it was, but I low-key predicted this. So I got to give myself a pat on the back for that. But in terms of how these Pokemon look, these were also ones that I heard a lot of complaints about that people weren't liking. And in terms of my own opinions, starting with Dialga, I, once again, have to disagree because I actually really like how Dialga looks here. I think it looks really cool in general. I just really like the look of it. I think it actually really accurately depicts what an origin form of a creator deity like Dialga would look like. I think it just has a cool, majestic, like deity-like look to it. And I think it just looks cool in general. So I would probably have to give this the A ranking. When it comes to Palkia, Palkia's design is kind of out of left field because when I saw it for the first time with that whole centaur approach, it's just like the most random thing that you would use to put onto Palkia. Like, it's so out of left field, it's not even funny, but I also found myself not really disliking it either. Like, it, once again, just like Dialga, has that benefit of really accurately depicting the origin form of a creator deity, I feel like. So I think it nails that aspect of the design, and I think it looks pretty cool in general too, if I'm being honest. It's just that randomness, that weirdness of making it a centaur that's just so strange. I actually kind of feel like I want to look into this and see if there's any deeper meaning. But overall, yeah, it's just kind of interesting, kind of weird, kind of strange, kind of unexpected. So because of that, in comparison to Dialga's A ranking, I'd have to give Palkia like probably a B, maybe a B+. And there you have it, everyone. Those were my opinions on every single new Pokemon and Hisuian form and origin form introduced in Legends Arceus. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid group of Pokemon, if not a pretty good group of Pokemon, because we had several S tiers in here, we had a lot of A's and B pluses, and only a couple lower ones. I think my least favorites are Sneasler and Enamorous. So yeah, not the biggest fans of those, but I love Ursaluna, Hisuian Zoroark, like I said, Decidueye, oh my goodness, Legends and Goodra, lots of great Pokemon here, and so I hope you guys love them as much as I did, because I really do like this group of Pokemon. You're definitely going to have to let me know all your opinions in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. You can also greatly support content like this even being able to be made in the first place by listening to my Pokemon remixes on Spotify. That greatly helps my ability to make videos, so if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, check out my Pokemon remixes on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. It helps a ton. It's greatly appreciated. With that being said, I will be back with another video very soon, on Thursday in fact, because we're uploading on Thursdays again, and with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, I love you very much, and I will smell you guys later.